Biloxi blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine. The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind.
Yo, listen, you hear that? Hit this note with me one time, dog. You ready? This highway doesn't know any names. We're going to have to talk to Luke Duncan about this because I don't think any highways know any names. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that they can hear or speak. We need to text Luke. Reminder, put it in your notes. We're going to text Luke Duncan and see if he's ever found a highway that did know some names because I want him to go meet that highway.
Did you ever see those signs on the road that said "Adopt a Highway"?
Welcome back to the Fish Lyfe podcast. Me and to my right, your left, switching roles here.
Come on with it.
My buddy Chris Blackman hanging out with me this afternoon, and
we also have somebody else.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you. Listen, I know the folks at home have been to watch our content are like, well, what's been going on? Where's B-Law been? Listen, folks, sometimes life throws you some curveballs, and we're talking about some Yu Darvish sized curveballs.
12 to 6.
The old 10 Lincecum back in the day. Remember that one? Dirty curve. Hey, we've had some big curveballs in my life, and the content production is slow because of that. But by the time you guys are watching this, I don't know if this one's going to be exactly on schedule, but within the next week, we'll be back on our full schedule. We're going to upload a bunch of content we had saved up from old stuff, and then we're going to hit you with all new content starting next week, back on our normal schedule, doing our thing. So you will be able to catch this podcast once again every Friday as you were before. Apologize for everything that's going on. I appreciate you guys bearing with me and being patient and sticking with us like I know y'all have. Today's an awesome day, Chris.
Today is an awesome day.
You know what? Enough of the niceties, enough of the welcome backs. We got to get into something. Tell the folks who we're talking to today.
So today we have a special guest. We have Mr. Kelly Jordan.
No big deal.
He's
no
kind
big
of
deal.
important.
No big deal. It's just Kelly Jordan. I mean, one of the greatest bass fishermen in the history of Texas bass fishing, in the history of bass fishing, period, really, because he's done a lot of big things. So, look, are we ready to get him on the phone yet, or does he know we're coming?
Yeah, he knows we're coming.
All right.
I gave him a little heads up.
Let's just get, heck with all the delays, man. Let's get him on.
Let's get him on. Let's give old Mr. Kelly Jordan a call.
Hello.
Mr. Kelly Jordan, how are you, sir?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Kelly, this is Billy Lawson. I'm here with Chris on this Fish Lyfe podcast. Man, hey, first and foremost, thank you so very much for taking time out of your super busy schedule to do this with us. We really appreciate it, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Billy.
Absolutely.
So just so the fans know, we're going to run through a couple of your career stats. You've had 6 major career wins, 37 top 10s, 66 top 20s, 1 MLF win, and career earnings nearing $2 million. That is pretty dang impressive.
Yeah. For all the YouTube viewers that may or may not have watched Tournament Fishing Forever like we have, this guy's for real, y'all.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I've been really fortunate in my career. I've had fished lots of cool places, traveled this great country, and fished a lot of places people dream about going. And every year you got to pinch yourself. Keep it real, man. It's just awesome. I'm very, like I said, love it that I get to do this for a living.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And since you said keep it real, we like to keep it real here on the Fish Lyfe podcast, and we have 2 questions that we ask every single guest that comes on. And are you ready for these?
I don't know. Should I brace myself?
You probably should.
All right. So the first one is Biggie or Tupac?
Probably Biggie.
Okay, that's our first Biggie answer.
That's our first Biggie, man. Marches to his own beat. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, and then the second question is, if you could bring back a hairstyle, what hairstyle would you bring back?
Oh, gosh. Bring back, heck, they all cycle. I don't really know if you could bring one back. I guess it'd be like the 80s hairband, like giant hair. Not that I'm going to wear it, but.
Okay, the giant hair.
You don't see anymore. Those rockers, they all have small hair now, but I mean the big, like.
Motley Crue. Like the old Motley Crue Poison days. Just 18 bottles of hairspray every morning to get you started.
I guess. It'd be fun to see. I'm not going to do it, but it's gone. Nobody does that. Guns N' Roses, you name it.
That's it. That's
right.
it.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, Kelly, would you mind kind of giving us your story as to how you got started fishing? Some of the.
Well, Kelly, if I can interject here, I know we've met a couple times and talked, and I've learned a lot about your story through Joe Spates, who we both know, a mutual friend of ours.
Oh, yeah. Good Joe.
Yeah, old Big Joe. He's the man. And so your story is really neat because you started out kind of coming back and forth to Lake Fork as a young man and fished out of an aluminum boat, I know, and did a lot of night fishing, night tournaments. So if you could give us kind of the Cliff Notes version of that, we sure would appreciate it.
Well, I just always loved to fish. Nobody in my family is a fisherman, so I was like the lone wolf, I guess you could say, or black sheep, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't know why. Just, if you love to fish, you love to fish. Can't really explain it. So I fished every chance I could. I used to fish in creeks, down the road with friends when I was a kid, fishing ponds. First time I ever fished out of a boat was on Lake Buchanan, Central Texas, with my great uncle. It was a Lone Star aluminum boat, and I was probably 10 or 12 years old. And I like to fish for everything. I went to high school in Waco, Texas, and I had a friend down the road. Our parents had a friend down the road, and he was a diehard bass fisherman, and he had a little bass boat. And they always, said, hey, you should take Kelly sometime. Of course, he's probably thinking, I really don't want to take this kid fishing. But he did. And his name was Kendall Lovett, and he is who turned me into a diehard bass fisherman. I was a fisherman that fished for anything. Still do, but he showed me how awesome the sport of bass fishing is. And that's when I was about probably, 15 years old. And that's kind of how I started my passion for bass fishing specifically. And then I guess on from there, I fished every chance I could. I never had a boat. I used to fish out of the family ski boat when I was in high school.
We've all been there.
And I had some friends that had boats. And then just went on from there. Lake Fork, always heard about it, the storied and famous Lake Fork. I couldn't wait to get there. And when I finally went there, I think I was on spring break in first year of college, I think. And that's the first time I fished on Lake Fork. And I went to Lake Fork every chance I could from there on out.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to fish every chance I could on the weekends, spring break from school. And then in the summer times, when I lived in Dallas when I was in college, my parents did. So I'd come home and I'd work summer jobs. And a lot of times the only time I could fish was at night because you work during the day, so I get off and drive to Lake Fork and fish all night and go back and work again the next day. And that's and hey, I always wanted to be I love fishing. I love reading about the pros and stuff, and never fished in any tournaments. Like I said, didn't know really anybody. And finally fished my first tournament when I was, I think, probably a sophomore or junior in college, and it was actually on Lake Fork. It was a Northeast Texas Angler's Choice tournament, if you ever heard of an Angler's Choice.
I remember those.
Back in the day. And I fished the Northeast Division on Lake Fork, and it was 93, I believe, like I said. And me and my buddy, we won that tournament.
The first tournament you ever fished, you won it.
First, and it was on Lake Fork, and we won. And
that's awesome.
So I was hooked, and heck, here I am today.
Yeah, all these years later. Now, we said earlier your career earnings are not far from $2 million. You're almost there. And I know that if they counted all your night tournament earnings from your old days at Lake Fork, you'd probably be over that $2 million mark. Because I've heard some stories about you in them night tournaments, Kelly. You and old Elvis.
Yeah, we used to fish the Joe Axon's. He had a tournament every Saturday night of the full moon, and me and my team partner fished that, I think, for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And the worst we ever did was fourth place, I think.
You talking about setting a standard?
Yeah, I heard some of these stories kicking around Lake Fork the last 10 years like I had. I've heard some rumors of it. That sounds about like what I've heard.
One time a guy named Mick Batson had some tournament over there, and I didn't know about it. My team partner told me about it. I didn't know they were going to have it. And but he was fishing with another friend of mine that had told him about it. But then his next question was, which one of your spots can I fish? So I found a buddy. I fished it too, and my buddy beat me on the spot I gave him. He won, and I got second.
Oh man.
They had 2 overs that night. They had an 11 and a 9.
God, jeez.
And so they had 20 something pounds and 2 fish.
So that went well for them.
Yeah, and I came to, anyway, I was like, dadgummit. He was laughing all the way at the bank. But I used to love, I don't have night fish in a long time, but man, I tell you what, back when Lake Fork had grass, it is probably still great. I know a lot of the guys just kill them at night, but
well, those green lights have created a whole new dynamic at night now.
Yeah, I've seen videos of them just stacked up around the perimeter of the green lights.
That's right.
Pretty crazy. But yeah, we used to. Man, I tell you what, fishing at night. Lake Fork still has all those giants, but there's always huge fish, and I can tell you stories about the ones that got away. I have hooked some fish that I couldn't even do anything with at night and lost them. And yeah, hey, again, Lake Fork, that is, man, what a place.
Well, now, hey, this year, you're coming home.
Yes.
That's going to be awesome. And coming home,
very,
you're getting to come at a time that's really, really good, too.
Yeah, so we're going to be there. It ought to be, there's a chance there could be some spawning, but it would probably be pretty much a wide open, pre-spawn
That's
deal.
right. Yes, sir.
So, it depends on the weather, of course. But, man, what a time to look forward to. There's some really good chances that we can catch some true giants.
Absolutely.
In that event. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. I tell everybody, all the other pros, they, of course, ask me all about it and stuff. And I tell them, I say, I don't even really think I have an advantage because it's a wide open pre-spawn. Ought to be a shallow bite. There might be a little bit of deeper water stuff, but probably not much. So, it's going to be, I guess maybe one advantage is I know how to run around a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah.
You've got a better chance of your lower unit surviving than most do.
Yeah, well, you know what, though? It's scary nowadays on Fork because all my little trails I used to have, my little sneak trails, I called them.
Yeah.
All my marker trees are gone now.
They're gone. You can't see. They're just under the surface lurking, waiting to grab you.
Yeah, I try to drive around like, it's like driving with on braille, with the feel, and then every now and then I just have to shut it back and I go, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not really sure right here. I'm going to just take it easy. But, yeah, that's the only, I guess, thing that it's kind of spooky to me sometimes because you can't see it like you used to. But
yeah.
Anyway, I am looking forward to that event. It's going to be awesome. It's shoot, man, being at home is fishing at home is so good. The most awesome win I think I've ever had is when me and my team won the Twitter Texas Bass Classic there, the second one we had there. And, it's just, I tell you, all your friends are there. And, Lake Fork has been my home since the early 90s. I moved there. I guided on Lake Fork, full-time for
yes, sir.
about 8 years into the early 2000s. It's like family. And, I'll call Joe Space. He's like, he's like an uncle to me, I guess you could say. So many great people around the lake. And, it's just a special place. And I can't wait to get to come home and fish. And I know everybody's pulling for me, and I'm looking forward to catching some of those Lake Fork giants for sure.
Absolutely, man. We're definitely going to be pulling for you. We will definitely be tuning in, as they say. Now, we here on this YouTube channel and the social media outlets that we use, all the content that we've done for the last, started doing this about 3 years ago. I did, and everything we've done has been hyper focused on, instructional advice, trying to help people catch more and bigger fish. That's kind of been our deal from the beginning. So if you don't mind, let me ask you, what is your favorite pre-spawn technique for Lake Fork specifically, and give us a couple quick tips on that technique.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to pick one.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the way, because there's not much grass anymore, I mean, you can't go wrong. Two things I would say. I would say a big square bill and a jig.
Yeah.
If the water's a certain level on Lake Fork, which is about 2 feet low, which is almost like normal pool for Lake Fork, is 2 feet low, you can really see the timber.
It's 1.5 feet right now.
Right. So if it gets a little bit lower, you'll be able to see a lot of the timber. And reading the timber is one of your keys to catching these bigger fish, because all the timber in the lake is the predominant kind of cover there, besides dock, stuff like that, shoreline grass, I guess you could say. But one thing about fishing timber is, remember, bigger is always better. The bigger a stump is, or the fatter the tree stump is always better. Just keep that in mind when you're seeing stumps. It's like if there's millions of stumps in Lake Fork, the bigger around they are, the better chance you have of a bigger fish sitting by. And they have a bigger root system down at the bottom too. It's a bigger, more mature tree.
Right.
So
that's like a little.
Keep that in mind.
That's like a little small brush pile down there. And also one thing, and tell me your thoughts on this. To me, when I see those bigger trees, I always think, okay, well, that tree needed a lot more water, which means that tree is probably next to a drop-off or a low spot of some kind. A little bit deeper water. I think that also helps key in some of the big fish and some of the travel lanes as they go in and out of these areas.
Absolutely right, because, they're usually along little drains, little depressions, like you said. Back when there was a lot more timber, and I have been fortunate to fish a lot of the lakes in Texas when they were first impounded, like Ray Roberts, Joe Poole, a bunch of the name of Mackinac, you can still do it.
Yep.
You can read the timber, and it'll tell you what the bottom is, and you're exactly right. It'll help you pick apart those little drains and stuff, and that's also a great reason for a big bass to be there. Also, those big trees, if you get around them too, a lot of them have really big limbs that may be underwater as well, and that is like maybe its own lay-down limb, if you can think about that, and that's where a big square bill comes in.
Yes.
It's throwing around those bigger timber as you're flipping them. It's kind of like a 1-2 punch. So that's what I would say would help maximize you getting hooking that fish for a lifetime.
That's great stuff. I mean, that was really, really, really good stuff. We appreciate you taking the time to do that with us, and we're going to touch on the tournament scene now. Look, the tournament scene has been, I guess you could say, there's been some controversy. There's definitely been some changes, some moving parts in the tournament scene the last couple years. And you've been a big part of that because you're tied in pretty well with MLF and all those guys, and you're a big part of what they're doing. And obviously there's been some back and forth with a couple guys leaving and a couple guys coming from MLF. I think, that's hard to differentiate who got the better in that deal, because any four of those guys, between David Dudley, Brian Thrift, Gerald Swindle, Brandon Paul, I mean, you could change any one for the other as far as fishing ability and name recognition, in my opinion. The biggest question that I, as a fan, now this is just me, this is not me, Billy the fishing guide or nothing. This is just me as a dude who's watched bass fishing tournaments since I was a kid. What is the sticking point? Because I really thought when y'all created the tour level events that it would be a best something, a best 5, a best 10. And the reason I say that is because I've always viewed that as the best test of your ability is to try and catch the biggest fish in the pond. What is the deal that makes MLF seem to be, even though there's a little bit of pushback on it from fans, what's making y'all stick with the every fish counts?
Well, so, when you go fishing, just for instance, and you talk to your buddies, well, what do they ask you?
How many did you catch?
About your day.
Yeah.
Well, and then they ask you what?
What was your biggest?
Exactly. How many did you catch? What was your biggest? Very seldom do they say, unless you're a diehard tournament guy, what were your biggest 5? Or, occasionally I would.
Right.
Or,
That's the question That's the question I would normally ask. But I fish every day you know what I mean. So it's different.
Yeah. So the first thing you say is, how many did you catch? If you say 72, somebody goes, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you go, what was your biggest? You say a 10.6, you go, oh my gosh. If you say your biggest one was a 1 pounder, that's different. But again, so that's kind of where Major League Fishing goes. A lot of people say it's a little fish tour because 1 pounders count. This season on the Bass Pro Tour, it's going to take a 2 pounder to be a legal scoreable bass.
Well, now, is it just straight 2 pounds? Or I was under the understanding it was a variable minimum where it might even go higher than that in some places.
Yes, it could. And it could go lower, but it's stuck at 2 pounds right now. If, if we went, sometimes people say this in Florida, some of those lakes are different. It doesn't really matter. It's just trying to get it to where the guys can focus on these larger fish. Now, I'll tell you, the whole deal with that, where it makes a difference, is it's totally dictated by where you go fish.
Right.
I mean, if you put a 1 pound minimum on Lake Fork and go in the spring, it's not going to matter, because let me tell you something. Pound and halfers are hard to find.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you catch a bunch of pound and halfers, you're going to be hurting, leaking oil too bad.
Yeah.
And we had that same thing happen at most of the first 4 events we had last year. That was the case. It was no big deal. We didn't run into a problem, and like I said, I used the problem loosely because some people liked it.
Yeah.
Jacob Wheeler had 82 bass that weighed 120 pounds, 82 bass in 7.5 hours of fishing. That's ridiculous.
That is insane.
But, he didn't have a lot of big ones, but he had, pound and a half average. A pound and a half, that's about a 14-incher,
Yep.
That's the average. You can't weigh in, 10 inches. It's got to be a pound to be scoreable. But that's the only time when you kind of started hearing it. So what had happened was there were some people that really hated us because they thought, we did some stuff, shook up the industry. They called us a little fish group. After the first 4 or 5 events, that was gone, man, because in North Carolina, several other events, little fish had zero bearing on what happened.
Right.
I had 26 bass that weighed 82 pounds in North Carolina the first day, and so the little fish, I had a whole bunch of 3 to 6 pounders, and matter of fact, I think if you took them, there was like 5 or 6 or 7 of us that our biggest 5, if you took that out of what we caught was in excess of 29 pounds, up to like 32 or 33. So, you can look at it that way or another. But one thing our format does, if you do get on a school of big ones, like you can do at Lake Fork, you get credit for all of them and not just 5.
Yeah, that is true. Listen, if somebody pulls up, and you know this as well as I do, if somebody pulls up to the right shallow staging point at the right time on Lake Fork in mid-March, there's going to be something go down that tournament fishing viewers have never seen before.
Yeah.
That will happen. That is a possibility of that happening, and it would be a shame in that situation for a guy to catch 13 7-pounders or 13 5-pound fish that he doesn't even get to count.
Yeah, and that's happened to a lot of us that are pros, and so we're like, man, we'd love to be able, when you actually do something that's astonishingly unbelievable. For instance, you could be in Toledo Bend would be a prime example back in the day. You might have gone out there and caught 35 4-pound bass, but they were all 4-pounders. You weighed in 20 pounds. You caught 35 4-pounders, though.
Yeah.
It could have happened.
It's definitely a mind-blowing point.
Somebody else there caught a 7-pounder, a 5-pounder, a 4-pounder, and a couple 3-pounders, and they got 5 bites all day. They're going to beat your butt in a tournament.
Right.
And you just absolutely stomped on them. You just didn't get a 7-pounder and a 5-pounder on top. And, who would you rather have fished with? I don't know. Who was really dialed in and hammering down? And, you could kind of make an argument for catching 5 good ones could be luck. Catching 15 or 20 of them, or even more, like you can do on Lake Fork if you hit it right. That's something that's never been measurable in our sport, in a competition, and that's what you're able to do in our league. There could be some astronomical weight, and so it's just, hey, the reason we had a 5-fish limit is because that is set by Parks and Wildlife departments pretty much throughout the country. It's 5 fish. Everybody's used to that. They're comfortable with it. I mean, it is what it is, but it used to be 10 fish.
Right.
20 years ago. I mean, it was even 15 fish before then. So, and I get it, man. But everybody doesn't like to change. 5 fish that's the standard, and it has been for a little while. But if you have the technology where you're not stuck at 5 fish, I mean, hey, why not? Go out and catch 10 or make it 20 or just every fish counts.
Well, my biggest talking point on this deal up till now has been that it's a whole lot harder to catch 1 8-pounder than it is to catch 4 2-pounders. But
absolutely,
you have kind of honestly sold me a little bit. Like I've always that's been my deal is listen, MLF has created the greatest roster of tournament fishing talent that's ever existed in our sport. There's no doubt about that. Y'all have done so many things right. Y'all have immensely helped every tournament, every professional level tournament's payout structure. Y'all have done way better stuff for the anglers as far as that goes. You guys are doing a great job in marketing and gathering non-endemics and getting exposure to and growing the sport. Everything y'all have done as far as that is phenomenal. I'm just like, man, in my head, because I'm the traditional tournament guy that looks at the best 5 as the deal, I'm like, you got the best talent, but you're not putting them to the best test. But you've kind of just changed my mind because you're right. If a dude sits there and catches 20 fish over 3 or 4 pounds, that's a whole lot better than the guy that caught 3 4-pounders and 2 6-pounders. But the 2 6-pounders wins in best 5. And so you've kind of changed my mind.
And if the guy that caught all the 4-pounders catches the 6-pounder, that 6-pounder counts for him too.
Yeah, and now it all counts. You're right. I see your point.
And you watch what goes down on Fork. The guy who's catching some 8-pounders is probably going to be the guy that's in the league. Just saying.
Oh yeah,
no doubt. Or bigger.
You're going to have to be around that caliber of fish. And you know how it is. If you get on that kind of bite of Fork, you're going to have a bunch of, you're going to get a lot of 4 or 5 good quality bites. And the Fork has so many big ones, you'll get those big bites too.
Absolutely, you will. I mean, that's the time of year you guys are coming is 100% the biggest home run time of year. Like, that's when those fish are really gathered and feeding before they go in and get on the bank. And like I said, if somebody hits the right point at the right time and it goes down the way it can go down there, you have guided there plenty enough. I've guided there a bunch. When it goes down at Lake Fork, there's no place on earth like it. There's just not.
Exactly. And guess what? Our format is going to be able to showcase that.
That's right.
People are going to get to see. If that happens, it will just blow people's minds because, some of these schools of fish, especially, different times of year, but whenever you hit them, I mean, I could tell you about days I've had on Lake Fork before, but, I can't imagine the weights that we could have. And that's just an eye-opening and a jaw-dropping experiences. Think about your best day you've ever had on Lake Fork. What if you were in a competition and you got credit for every bass you caught?
Cool.
How happy would you be about that?
Well, I'll give you a prime example of a day that we had this year on a guide trip. I had one customer with me. It was sight fishing season, and all we did was bedfish, which isn't normally the best way to rack up numbers, but we hit it
right.
It was either 2 or 3 days after full moon in April. All the females seemed to be pulling into the beds and locking on the same day. And our best 5 that day went 40 pounds and 12 ounces. That was our best 5.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a slew of 4 and 5 and 3 pound fish that we weren't even counting in that best 5. That I have no idea what our total weight would have been. Probably add another 15 at a 4 pound average and add that on top of 40, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's 15, that's 6. We had 100 pounds that day.
Yeah.
Give or take.
You should start doing that for your guys. Just weigh every fish, write them down, say, hey, man, here was our day. Today we had a career day with my clients, and we had, 26 bass in the boat, and they weighed 117 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty close to what happened that day, and I was just thinking of it in the old school terms. Now, I will say, we did do one video one time over on Lake Monticello where we had a really good bite at the end of summer, and we were catching a lot of bigger fish. And during the day, while we were talking to each other in the video, we were talking about our best 5 was 35 pounds or whatever it was. But then when I started editing the content, I started looking at it and go, I think we caught over 100 pounds of bass. And so I went back and reviewed all the content and added it up. And we had 25 bass for 104 pounds that day. And it was like, That's a whole different ball game over a 35-pound best five. You know,
It puts a different dynamic out there to where, you know, like you said, you opened my eyes when you explained that the way you did. I'm just thinking to myself, like, because I'm an old school tournament guy too, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, but the way you explained it is just like, okay, yeah, that kind of blows your mind when you step back and just look at it.
If you smash them, you get credit for smashing.
That's right.
I mean, you do.
that's it.
I got a whole different outlook.
I'm in. Sold. I'm buying all of it.
And guys, I'll tell you, and everybody's listening, I'll tell you one more thing. I have fished Major League Fishing style since the beginning. There is no format in tournament fishing, and if you love competitive fishing, even if you don't, I'm telling you, you are. I mean, the intensity level is incredible. Yes. At the end of the day, when you're done, I mean, you left it all on the field, man. You don't even. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like take 2 days to recover.
Yeah.
I don't even think I drank a sip of water the whole time because you can't. It's just score tracker's going off.
Yeah.
You're trying to be out and catch it. You know, if you're in the hunt, you're trying to just, you know, if you're getting killed, it's really, really, really bad. But
there's
if you're
no
in the hunt or you're catching them, I mean, you talk about. I mean, you're almost. It's like those nerves you get when you catch a 10-pounder, but you have them for hours.
Yeah.
I can't describe it. It's just.
There's truly.
And I have been. Go ahead.
There's truly no doubt, and I've said this since y'all first announced the tour a year ago. When I was talking on camera about it, I've said this from the beginning. There is no comparison in the excitement level of the format. Like that buzzer beater situation you guys have created, and even through multiple periods and now multiple days. You know, the multiple period deal back in the original Cup days, and now multiple days in a tournament level, tour level deal. There's nothing else like that. Even as a fan watching it, it's intense.
Yes, and that's why we've had such great response from our fans. And one of the reasons we do what we do too is because, I mean, we are trying to grow the sport of bass fishing and make it to where, you know, your non-fishing friends, family, you're like your mom, she can watch it and get excited about it because it is a sport. You can clearly see the excitement and the intensity level of the people fishing. It's easy to understand the score.
Mm-hmm.
You get to watch the score tracker go. You can tell where they are. You can tell when a guy is getting deflated. You can tell when a guy is making a move. They'll get so intense they don't even say a word. They're just dialed. If you watch them, some of them try to be really nice and look at the camera real quick, but they're wanting to get that fish back in so quick. Because every second they're not fishing or have their line in the water, their competition is. That's and right. Again, every bite and every fish you catch counts. That's above a certain minimum. And, you know, so it's just so intense. Back to the 2-pound minimum, one thing that we're trying to do with this mix is to make it to where you can have it makes it to where you can focus on bigger fish, potentially, and beat somebody who's focusing on numbers.
Right.
And a 2-pound fish, just so you know, that's about a 15 or 16-inch bass.
That's right.
That's the biggest minimum bass in any tournament that I know of right now that's not on the slot line.
Yeah,
I mean, across the board.
Can I ask you one?
For 16 inches to be a scoreable bass.
Can I ask you one question or ask you one favor? If
yes, sir.
If my vote doesn't count for nothing with MLF, but your vote might, let's make it a minimum of at least 3 pounds on fork. That's all I'm saying. Let's break records, have the biggest minimum of all time, and go whack their butts.
Well, you know, it might happen. And again, you know, like I said, you can go back yourself and you can go back to our stats and our results from the first 4 events last year and you can look at the weights that the guys had. And if you're able to, and I don't know if you can find it on the website if it shows all the different fish they have, but you can look at the average that they have, okay, on their fish and their numbers.
Yes.
You can see where, and I've seen all the individual catches. Those fish under 2 pounds, when you're at a good venue like a Lake Fork, they don't even matter.
No,
so
they
it really is kind of a moot point. But you know what? If there's any place for a 3-pound minimum, it could be Lake Fork. I guess we'll ask the powers to be what they want to do. But I'm pretty sure if you're fishing for fish, if you're catching, you know, mostly fish under 3 pounds, you were going to get killed at Lake Fork. So,
Oh yeah. Now,
just saying.
Now, Kelly, I will say one thing too. They've actually started an amateur type level MLF format, little tournament trail, so to speak, on Lake Fork, where they send you out with marshals and stuff like that. And so that was kind of cool to see. My tournament partner and I were talking about it the other day, and I said, dude, we ought to go fish one. And then we started talking about the excitement, you know, like you and I were talking the other night about, you were saying, dude, there's no other format that can compete with your nerves like this one does. And
oh yeah,
you know, it's crazy. You know, we're already doing this at the amateur level, and that creates excitement.
Well, that was the other thing that I didn't mention earlier that MLF has done for the sport, is there's no doubt, there's no arguing that this is way better for fish care.
Yes.
Way better for fish care. No argument about that. Now,
it is. Dragging them around live well all day is not good.
Not great. Not great. You were involved, like you said, in the Toyota Texas Bass Classic. And for any viewers that don't know, that was an event that started, was it 2006, Kelly?
Yes.
2006,
2006, 7, I don't know. I'm old and I'm long in the tooth, somewhere in there.
It was around there. But it was the first time where we went to Lake Fork, which was a slot lake, and you couldn't keep the slot fish. And it was the first time when we had professional level tournament fishermen weigh and fish in the boat, catch, weigh, count it on the board, release it. And it was a team event back then, morphed into the later version of TTBC, which ended up with Keith Combs breaking records and stuff at Lake Fork in 14, and then Brent Ayler in 15. It went around to different lakes, but you were involved. If I'm not mistaken, you may have helped create that event in the very beginning. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm a founder of it. It's me and Donato Ramos, who was a fisheries Parks and Wildlife commissioner with the Parks and Wildlife, and then Dan Friedkin, who was also a commissioner with the Parks and Wildlife Department. And Dan Friedkin owns Gulf States Toyota, so that was the underwriter and the sponsor of it was Toyota through him. Donato Ramos was the commissioner that knew Dan Friedkin, and I met Donato Ramos deer hunting in South Texas and told him about my vision to have an event on Lake Fork. He said, man, that's a great idea. Let's see if we can make that happen. And one thing led to the other, and now you have the Texas Bass Classic. It all started right there. And that catch, weigh, and immediate release format that it was started right here on Lake Fork, the Toyota Texas Bass Classic, is the format of the future, and that is the godfather of all those kind of events in professional fishing.
That's where I was going.
So you know, hey, man, all started right here in our backyard.
That's right where I was going with that, was you were actually, in a lot of ways, the original creator of what is now the MLF format. It's awesome.
Well, the catch, weigh, release, and then the Major League took it to the next level where they all count, which, hey, kind of a no-brainer. I wish we'd have done it back then, especially on Lake Fork, for crying out loud. But hey, it's funny how stuff evolves. Being at the center of all this is just, I mean, it's an amazing story that I can tell people, and you know, just being involved with all these great people. And I tell you who else loves this whole system and this format as well as all the Parks and Wildlife across the country.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because of the fish care, and that also was stressed very strongly in the very beginning by our guys at the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. They have a hand in all of this as well. And it's just funny how stuff, you know, changes, evolves, gets better. And so you have so many people working toward the same goal. And, hey, you could, you know, make the argument the progression of that whole movement to take care of the fish that we all love to catch as well as we can is Major League Fishing.
That's right.
You know, heck, I've put fishing live wells in tournaments for my whole career. I'm not going to say you shouldn't be doing that or whatever. That is your legal limit, keep. That's, you know, that's where our 5-fish limit and all that stuff comes from. But there is a better way. And being able to do it and having a boat official on your boat, that's not really practical for everybody else. But someday, we're hoping we have technology where everybody can do that.
Yes.
And how fun would that be?
Absolutely. That would be tons of fun. I think it's awesome, man. It's listen, don't listen to this next part, but you've always been one of my personal heroes, one of my guys I looked up to. You were Lake Fork first, and when I moved here, I knew your story, and it was always something that I admired from a distance. And we've gotten to talk a couple times, and dude, I cannot thank you enough for coming on here and doing this. Well, there's one more point I did want to make, though. And me and you have actually had this discussion before. It's been years ago at a Fun and Sun show, I believe it was. But you talk about the original catch-weight release formats kicked off at Lake Fork. Well, that's not the only thing that gets kicked off at Lake Fork. For the viewers or listeners that are watching and listening on the audio format right now, Lake Fork has brought a lot of things to the world of fishing. The Cinco, the flutter spoon. There's been so many major milestone techniques that have been created right here at Lake Fork.
Well, it's kind of like Lake Fork is, it's kind of the epicenter of bass fishing. It has been forever. When I was guiding full time, everybody it was the destination of America to go bass fishing in the spring to go try to catch that fish of a lifetime. Being a fishing guide in that time, as you got, the most awesome thing for me as a guide was when my clients would catch the fish of a lifetime, or both of them would, and that happened more days than not.
It does.
So
it does.
Yes, and I would always ask my guys when they get in the boat, or ladies, or kids, what's your biggest bass? First thing I'd ask them in the morning. They'd tell me how big. And a lot of times it was a 5-pounder or a 6-pounder, and usually the people said it was a 6-pounder was their biggest bass. The first 4.5-pounder they caught, they said that's the biggest bass I've ever caught.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm familiar with that.
And then they would start taking pictures of 3 and 4 pounders, and I would say, "What are you doing?" They're saying, "We're taking pictures of this fish." I said, "Oh man, that's a little one. Don't worry about that. We're going to catch a lot bigger one than that." and we did, so yes, you had. So everything comes together to place like this. You have lure designers like Joe.
Yeah.
You have people from all over the country trying different things. Swim baits got started. I would tell you that swim baits, a big start of swim baits was right here on Lake Fork.
It was certainly to me where it expanded out of the West Coast.
Well, they kind of had it going there because they had a big trout bite. Well, Brian Duplessis, if you know who Brian is, all-time guide on Lake Fork, probably one of the longest tenured guides that we have.
Wait a minute, hold on. If you don't know who Brian Duplessis is, stop listening right now.
Yeah, stop listening. Oh, man, Brian Duplessis, he got a gizzard shad, froze it, and mailed it to the guys at the Castaic Bait Company and said, "Make me a Castaic trout that's this color." And he had the first one on Lake Fork. And I think that was in the late 90s. And he hooked. I saw him one day at lunch at Lake Fork Marina with it, and he was white as a sheet. And I said, "What's wrong, Brian?" He said, "Man," he goes, "Boy," how he talks, he's a French Cajun at heart. That's where he's from.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got that thick Cajun accent.
Well, he can speak Creole French. That's a whole other story I can tell you about another podcast. So he was white as a sheet, and he said, "Man, I lost the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life." And he's seen some of those 20-pounders that floated up, died of old age back in the late 80s. He's seen fish on beds or swimming around like I have, suspended next to a tree in the spawning season that weren't on a bed that you're just so big you can't even believe it, and they would just disappear. He said he hooked a 20-pounder.
God.
And I said, "Come on."
Well, and for folks that don't know Brian, if he said he hooked a 20-pound, if Brian tells you Christmas is tomorrow, you better buy some presents, son. He don't make nothing up.
No. So he told me he lost a 20-pounder, and he was white. And they had weighed in like a 1285, almost a 13 that day, that morning already.
Oh my goodness!
And he said we had just caught that fish, and he said I brought that Castaic trout, which was the shad one. He was the only guy on Fork that had a white one, and he's not going to give anybody else one. He was the only one that had it. He said it came up and short-lined him and hailed the whole thing. If you know how big that Castaic trout is. Right at the side of the boat and turned and went off and pulled his line and then stopped and opened his mouth, and the whole bait came right back out of his mouth.
Gosh. Holy cow.
And you need to ask him about it someday, but he told me that, and he was white as sheet. And People find to believe you or not, but let me tell you something. The next 10 days, at least, it might have been 14, I can't remember, but I was guiding every day. This was in the fall, November time frame, back when they used to school like crazy on Gizzard Shad in November and early December. He was at that same spot for that many days straight. Never left all day long. He was trying to hook that fish again because he knew where it lived.
I mean, can you blame the guy?
He never did. But so that's why I was like, hey guys, if you don't believe him, the guy never moved off of one spot for like 10 straight days. I saw him every day. He never left. He was trying to hook that one fish one more time.
Man.
He never did. And so anyway, that's swim baits. The Big Joe spoon. That was my little secret for a long time, and then I let the cat out of the bag on ultra match fishing.
Yep. Up on the Tennessee River.
I remember that.
It was off Kentucky Lake. I caught 20 pounds and 5 casts on Boy Duckett, and then he beat me by 0.06 of a pound because one of my bass died, and I got a 0.25 pound. Anyway, long story short, I lost. I came in second by less than 1 ounce, and he got the big title, the big belt, and everything. Beat me. I'm still mad about it.
Hey, I'll just let you know, Kelly.
And he has that spoon on his wall with the belt, and he said all his friends, I said, they don't want to see his belt or anything, they want to see the spoon, but I caught him on it almost and should have been. So, anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. But no, lots of great stuff like that. Hey man, it's like if there was a lake that was like the Augusta where they played the Masters in golf.
Yes.
That lake would be Lake Fork, no question.
That is a very, very good example.
I throw that same spoon to this day. I can't get away from it, and it's all because of what you showed.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many giant spoons. There's even that big, gigantic Ben Parker that's just like, they bite. It's crazy, but where it's gone since that. But all of that, nobody had ever even thought about throwing a spoon that big on bass except for Joe Spade.
Mm-hmm.
And then he told a couple of us at Lake Fork, and it was my secret for a while, and I wouldn't chew anybody. And then finally I'm like, well, I'm fixing to win an event on it, so I guess I can let the cat out of the bag. And then I came in second, and I was like, come on.
we're gonna have to get Joe on here to tell that story one time about, he's told it a couple times that he's gone to a seminar and done one seminar with me and stuff, but the story of how he came about thinking about creating that big spoon and all that is just phenomenal. And it's really cool, man. Lake Fork is, as you said, such a special place. It's the Augusta of bass fishing. It's awesome, man.
Yep, and it only has, like 42 of the top 50 bass ever caught in Texas, including every bass over 17 pounds that's ever been caught in Texas.
That's correct.
So,
the data and statistics is unbelievable when you start looking it up.
It is phenomenal, and let me tell you something, too, that everybody needs to come fish on Lake Fork. We're 8 years out from the drought now. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's about how old those fish start having to be 13 and 14 and 15 pounds.
That's correct.
Yeah, what we've got going on. So what we've got going on at Lake Fork, in my opinion, is, you had good spawns before the drought. So you've got a lot of old fish that are truly like all-time giants. And then you've got the last 4 years, we've had really, really good spawns. And so you've got 4-year classes of, small fish. But in 4 years, a fish on Lake Fork, some are 5, 6, 7 pounds. So you've got...
But
you've got
those
these
8-year-old fish that were spawned the year the lake first filled back up from being so low for so long.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
That's like a big surge, and there's a population of those fish that they started showing up last year. People started popping some bigger ones than they had been in a while.
There was, and what the big deal was to me, there was people catching freak-sized fish in places that everybody fishes, which is, as Lake Fork has matured and the pressure and everything else that it gets, because it is a relatively small lake by these trophy lake standards. It's so much smaller than a Rayburn, a Toledo, a Gunnersville, an Okeechobee. All these lakes are way, way bigger. But last year, I saw one caught year before last. It was a 15-pounder caught in 4 foot of water flipping a jig on a stump. That's pretty rare to have a fish that big get caught that way. And then last year, I know of 2 13-pounders that were caught like on a chatterbait in the dirt. And so places that, like it used to be on Fork where you'd catch these freak fish just doing your normal fishing.
You never know.
Yeah.
And that's why people come to Lake Fork.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kelly, man, I'm sure that you've got a lot to get going because you are a busy, busy man, and I know you took a lot of time with us. And like I said, brother, I can't appreciate it enough. And I'm going to ask you one thing. When y'all get down here for MLF, will you do an on-camera interview with me?
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
I will come find you, brother, and thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day.
All right, Kelly. Thanks, sir.
All right, see you.
All right, bye-bye.
That wasn't cool or anything.
Well, there's that.
So that was just totally lame, bro. Dude, you know, the one thing, and he mentioned Brian Dupleshain, and of course, Kelly's Kelly, and, you know, some of these guys that I have the utmost respect for and look up to the most, it's not even all the accomplishments they have. We read Kelly's accomplishments, and they're unbelievable. $2 million in earnings, all those top tens, all those wins, you know, and not to mention all the giants that he caught and put other people on when he was a guy at Lake Fork and all the night terms. So he's got this awesome. That's not the most impressive thing. The thing that impresses me the most about Kelly Jordan, and you can say the same thing about Brian Dupleshain, who's caught as many giants as anybody on planet Earth. They're such good guys. You know, for him to take the time and talk to us for that long, I mean, we talked to him forever.
Yeah.
And he would have kept going if we let him keep going.
Oh, yeah.
They're just down-to-earth people. They even though they've accomplished all this, and Brian's the same way. They'll talk to anybody like they've known them their whole life, and they're their best friend. They're just amazingly good people.
They're very good people. It's like I told you the other day. You know, when I bumped into him, we sat there and talked for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And
well,
I
let's tell that. The way this came about, how'd that happen?
So I was at the Brookshire's by my house. For those of you who don't know, y'all have heard me call Kelly Jordan my neighbor.
No,
Well,
literally. They're at the same grocery store.
Yeah, we're at the same grocery store. Like, we shop. He lives near Lake Palestine, just like I do. And I was walking through the produce section, and I seen him over there, and he was wearing an MLF hoodie and MLF hat. And I was like, man, that's Kelly Jordan. And the produce manager over there happens to be a fisherman as well that I know very well for, you know, through the work that I do.
Right.
And I said, hey, that's Kelly Jordan. He said, no, that ain't Kelly Jordan. I said, dude, you're crazy. Go cut some lettuce. Like, I'm done talking to you. I walk out to my truck, I check out, you know, and not 3 spots over, there it is, Lucky Craft, KJ. I said, I knew
That's
it.
him, yeah.
I knew it. And so
That's him.
I was like, man, I'm going to go ahead and let him be. He's getting groceries. This is time off, you know. Well, no later than I load up my groceries, here he comes walking out. And I was like, bro, this is fate. Like, God wanted me to talk to Kelly Jordan. So I, you know, said, Kelly. And he said, yes, sir. And I walked up, introduced myself. He shook my hand. We sat there and talked and just had a good old conversation.
Yes.
I asked him to come on. He said, yeah, I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah.
He said, here, take my number down.
Yeah, he just randomly meets him at the grocery store, walks up, approaches
Yeah.
him, talks to him like he's his bold buddy,
Yeah.
and now he spent dang near, I guess, almost an hour talking to us on the phone, man.
Yeah.
That's and he's getting ready and in the middle of prepping for his busiest time of year, so
I believe he's driving through rural Alabama right now.
that's what he told us.
So-
And maybe why we got him on for so long, because he was just cruising and passing the time. You know what? Actually, Kelly, you're welcome. We're glad we could help
Yeah,
you
man.
pass an hour of your drive up.
He probably just took his exit. He's like, that went by a lot quicker. All right. Talk to these two
So you
knuckle
owe us,
bumps.
basically you owe us one, Kelly. That's what we're saying. So, man, that was awesome though. You know, he really did. I've been harsh on both tours
Yes.
for their flaws. I still stand by, and I wish we would have talked about it. I didn't talk to him about this, and this isn't really his aspect of the business, but the TV show needs work. For the tour level events,
Right.
the TV show needs work. We talked about that. We're not going to beat that back to death again, but the TV show is not being done as well as it could be. But I will tell you this. I'm back in on the format deal.
Yeah.
I'm good with it now.
That's just a whole nother way of thinking about it. And I can honestly say if
Just
I had
being
not
a
heard
little-
him say that,
Yeah.
I would have never thought about it
You
that
know,
way.
hey, listen, I'm the first to follow my sword when I'm wrong, and I'll admit it. And I'll tell you that I was wrong. I was looking at it with a nearsighted, old school perspective of best five is always best. But there's a whole lot of scenarios where best five ain't best after talking to him. He's right.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of times or situations that can come up where the guy that catches the most total weight actually had the best day.
Right.
He's correct about that.
I mean, and, you know, it just kind of goes into, there's been several times where I've been fishing a tournament and I've had, you know, a solid bag and I needed to get rid of one. And I've made that flip and caught that 6-pounder and been like, well, all right then.
Yeah.
I'll call that lucky.
Yep.
And, did I really? There might have been a guy that I beat by 2 pounds.
Well, there's no doubt it eliminates a lot of the luck factor because even, especially in a shorter event, I don't think over 4 days at their level that the luck factor, even in best five, is really a thing.
No.
Because you got to get lucky for 4 days to catch all them big fish.
Yeah.
And that's not luck at
Luck
that
just
point.
doesn't come around like
That's
that.
not luck at that point. There's something there. You got something going your way, but especially in shorter tournaments, 1 day, 2 day tournaments, there's definitely a luck factor involved in the best five versus a total weight.
Yep, I agree.
And the total weight eliminates the luck deal altogether, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I liked how he asked, well, what about the guy that got 5 bites all day and maybe he caught 25 pounds, but what about the guy that weighed in 20 that sat there and
They caught 37 4-pounders.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, that's a whooping. He whooped that dude, and he whooped that dude, and he ended up getting whooped.
Yeah.
So he's right. No, I mean I'm back in on the format. I'm back in on the format. Now, other tour news. We had our last. As of the day we're filming this, we had our first FLW Tour major of the year on Lake Sam Rayburn.
Yep.
And surprise, surprise,
John Cox
wins it. I mean, nobody's shocked by that news whatsoever. But John Cox is, he's got to be up there in conversation with the best fisherman on planet Earth.
Yes, 100%. Everywhere he goes, he catches them.
On any tour.
And top fives everywhere.
Yeah, I know. On any tour that he fished on, he would be one of the best on Earth. And the deal is, he's on FLW Tour right now. He's fishing the Bassmaster Opens. I don't think he'd have any problem competing on the Elites or the MLF Tour. He's just so good.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I will say this. The FLW Tour roster is not as good as the other two rosters. It's MLF. To me, it's a clear cut. MLF has the number one roster talent-wise. BASS has a clear number two. And maybe the Bassmaster Opens. The Bassmaster Opens and the Elites, literally, I don't know which one has a better field.
I think depending on the day, you could go either way.
I think the Opens might have better because a lot of the Elite guys fish down to the Opens as well. Then you have the local names that are fishing the Opens, like the Castledines and stuff like that.
Right.
And then you got, which Castledine was on FLW, but then you got Scott Martin. You got Brian Latimer. You got a lot of guys that came from FLW that were some of the biggest names that are now. I think the Open fields might be tougher than the Elite Series fields, honestly, right now. I really do.
Yeah, the argument's definitely there.
There's a debate. I'm not saying it is, but I'm not saying it ain't.
Right.
But FLW is certainly below all those, no doubt about it. In my opinion, as far as talent level on the roster.
Yes.
So, John Cox, I would have liked to see him beat some bigger names in that event, but dude, he's done proved it.
Oh,
he's done proved he's as big as anybody out there. Now, I do got to give a shout out to one of our local boys,
Daryl Gleason.
Guide down there at Toledo Bend. I've had a few phone conversations with him. Never met him in person. Actually, I have met him in person once years ago, but we don't know each other real well. But we know of each other. We've talked to each other. I think I've had some customers that want to fish Toledo. I've sent to him and vice versa. But Daryl finished third. Finished up there. He was as high as second on the final day for a while.
He was in contention.
He was in contention to beat John Cox for a little while.
Yes, because he rolled up. I was actually watching this live. He rolled up on a school, and he was sitting there pounding on him.
Gotcha.
Again, goes towards...
Every fish counted. I bet Daryl wished every fish counted on that last day.
Boy. And, he was culling by ounces at that point. He was going the right direction. I think he just ran out of time. He certainly didn't run out of fish because he left them biting.
Yeah.
So...
Well, congratulations to Daryl. That's a big deal for him. I know he's been working hard to try and get into one of the major tour-level tournament trails for a lot of years, and he's always been a really, really good fisherman, done well in some Opens, Bassmaster Opens and such as that, and to almost win that event because, hey, the field might be not as talented as the other trails as a whole, but the top end of that sucker still got the...
You still got to beat John Cox. I mean...
And Cruz.
And, yep.
I mean, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of names. I'm sitting here drawing a blank because I'm on the spot, but there's still that top 10, 15 guys, 20 guys is...
Pretty stout.
Ooh, son, they're really...
Boy.
I mean, they could all fish on any tour and make a living out of it, so... That's a big deal for Daryl. Good guy. Good to see him do well. Congratulations to Daryl. We're proud of you, buddy. Awesome job.
Yep.
Going back to the MLF format real quick. One thing that I have liked, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like this, they feel like if you catch them better than everybody else on the first couple of days, that ought to count for something. Hey, I'm going to tell you, I like the fact that you have to catch them every day because in the MLF format, if you don't know, you have 2 days of fishing, and then you qualify into the next day.
Yes.
Well, the weights go away. You zero out after day 2. You're back at zero, and you got to start over.
That's right.
To me, that is a truer test in a lot of ways, in the way of You can't have an off day. You can't build up a big lead on day 2 and then suck on day 3 and still be in it on day 4.
Right.
Because if you don't catch them on day 3, you gone.
Yep.
Because they'll cut you then. And then on day 4, you're starting over again.
Yep.
I mean, I like that. I really, really like
do too.
You have to be on them every single day throughout all 4 days that you fished during that event to bring home the trophy.
And I think one thing that they're definitely on to there is that being on every day is one of the truest tests of an angler.
No doubt about it. Being consistent day to day, and I see that in the guiding world a lot. You have guys that'll have a big day and then they'll have 3 or 4 bad days.
Right.
Well, as a guide, when you got new customers every day, you got to catch them every day, or you're going to have
Right.
3 or 4 upset customers and 1 happy one.
Right.
And it is no doubt a truer test to manage fish, to be able to go find new fish on a day. Like, hey, you ran out of fish today, you better go find some new ones. Like when you can do that, that's the real deal.
Yep,
That's
I agree.
that's a real true test.
I agree. And that, like I said, that speaks volumes. Maybe it's not best 5, but whenever you catch,
What? Man, after our talk today, I'm not out because of that anymore. You know, it used to be that was my deal. I was like, that's not the truest test. I'm not so sure of that anymore. I think there'll be circumstances and situations where it's not the truest test. When you have the Jacob Wheeler situation where he catches 72 with an average of 1.5 pounds.
but he catches every fish anyways, so it
I
doesn't
would
even
much
matter.
rather see a guy catch 6 or 7 5-pounders.
Right. Yeah.
For me personally, and
Right.
that wouldn't even be close to being in the ballpark of what he caught. But I also see that, especially if they can stay on big fish fisheries during big fish times, which I think they are trying to do. It seems like with their schedule this year, really trying to get on the big
It's stout.
on the big fish fisheries at the big fish time of year. I think, and with the variable minimum now, they can raise the minimum. I like they're making the right steps in the right direction that way. Now,
Yes.
I'm really.
I'm in. I mean, yeah. I'm glad.
Hell, y'all comment below. Let us know what you think about it.
I'm just glad that they're not going, like, for example, Lake Fork. Like, we all know it's the best lake in the history of ever.
Yeah.
Like, it just is.
Trophy Bass Lake, yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad they're not going to Beaver. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, we don't want to see them go chase some little ones. I mean, that's the deal. We don't want to watch. I think, especially a lot of the traditional bass fishing fans, don't want to watch the best in the sport go catch 72 for a 1.5 pound average.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, that's great. 72 bass in 8 hours is amazing. That's not what I want to see.
yeah.
I want to see that hammer come in the boat. I want to see you boat flip old big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you can't boat flip them in MLF, but you know what I'm saying.
And make no mistake, listeners, we're not saying by any stretch of the imagination that catching 70 bass in a day is easy, because
No, it's not.
it's not.
Yeah,
Just
it's
period.
not.
It's not. I mean,
Especially when it's like
Yeah.
one pole. Like, it's not like me where I got 2 customers and we caught 56. Like,
yeah. No.
it's hard to break the 50 mark with 2 people fishing all day
It's hard to break the 20 mark with 2 people
on
fishing.
a consistent basis.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just that being another bullet point to their
Yeah.
successors,
Yeah, it's good, man. There was something else I wanted to throw in there. I think it might have even been kind of funny. So I'm now really, really, really sad that I lost my train of thought. You distracted me with Major League Fishing.
Dude,
Does that mean we don't get to make fun of it and call it the MILF League anymore?
man, I like fishing.
Man, I like Fishing League.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I can still get down with that.
We still get
Come on.
down with that?
Dude, if anything, so I was watching a Bass Pro Tour event the other day, and now I'm drawing a blank, Billy. What'd
Here
you
we
do
go,
to
folks.
me?
We've left the rails. It's officially now a Fish Lyfe podcast. The train has gone off the
I
track.
want to say it was Casey Ashley.
Okay. Oh, don't you talk.
Casey Ashley was on
In
a
case
spot.
you didn't know, apparently I have a man crush on Casey Ashley.
So Casey Ashley was on a spot, and what he was saying, he was explaining it while he was catching them, was it was just one little piece of concrete in an offshore spot, and he was freaking putting a whooping on
Just
him,
one
dude.
after another.
And he was having to come from behind to get there, and Dean Rojas ended up. Dean Rojas, that dude.
He ended up doing a Dean Rojas
Doing
thing.
what Dean Rojas does on a shad spawn. He didn't move. He spent 2 entire periods in the same spot,
shad spawn.
just pumping them.
beating them down.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. But and
That shad spawn deal's awesome.
like, if y'all think that's easy, go try it.
That shad spawn, I'm gonna tell you, sometimes when you get the right stretch of shad spawn bank, it is easy. Jack.
It is, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
easy. Sometimes on the shad
I
spawn.
mean, he caught them 4 different ways. It was the dangest thing I ever seen.
And that's the deal on that. So on a shad spawn deal, let's say you roll over there, you catch them on top water, and they quit biting that. Pick up your swim bait.
Yep.
Oh, okay, we got them on swim bait. They quit biting. Oh, pick up a square bill.
Yeah.
Like, that's the deal. You can kind of just change it up in a situation like that and keep on whacking them.
Hey, speaking of which, you think OKJ knows anything about Lake Palestine? Surely not, right?
I don't know.
I mean, he just kind of lives on it and
Don't
stuff.
you be abusing his phone number, Chris. Kelly doesn't know what he's got himself into. Blackman's going to be dinging him every 30 minutes. Hey, what do you think about this spot on Palestine? And what should I throw, a black and blue jig or a square bill there? What about that Yamasenko out there on Bird Dog Point on Palestine?
Oh, gosh.
You're like, is that a deal? Should we do that, KJ?
Yeah.
KJ.
I got a tournament coming up on Palestine. Matter of fact, I'm excited about it. It's a 2-day tournament on Palestine.
2-day tournament on
Boy,
Palestine?
you know I'm giddy.
That's your home lake.
Come on with
Home
it.
lake, homeboy.
Hey, I'm going to have to bring them.
If you don't win, we got to come up with a comment below what his punishment should be if he doesn't bring home the W in this tournament.
I feel like that's fair.
Let's drop the comments right now.
But I'm not that good.
Yeah, I know, but we're still going to do it because that's
Okay.
what we do here.
Okay.
So, comment below if Chris doesn't win his 2-day tournament on his home lake that he lives on, self-proclaimed home body of water.
I mean,
You can see it from your door, Jack.
the first time I took you out there, I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no, we did whoop on him. That's another
Whole different conversation.
Time out. We're going to break into that story in a minute because that's a good one. But comment below what we should do to punish Chris. What should his punishment be? Eat something, wear something, do something. What?
Don't eat something. We've already done that on years past. YouTube, we're not doing the eat something.
Now, you'd have to reach way back in the archives to find that one.
Yeah, as long as it's not eat something. I'll wear something on the podcast.
Now, you can't restrict the audience. They can put whatever they want to.
Here, I'll tell you what.
And I get to pick the winner, not you.
How about y'all pick my outfit for my tournament in April, which is a 2-day tournament on Lake of the Pines.
That's pretty good.
If I don't win, y'all can pick it, and we'll pick the best.
Y'all can comment that if you want to pick the outfit, but the deal is y'all comment whatever you want to, and I'm picking the winner, Jack. Are you in?
Yeah, I'm in.
He's in. I knew I could talk him into anything twice.
Just twice.
Well, first time you're not sure how it went. You got to
Right,
try it one more time.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's tell the story of the first time me and you go to Lake Palestine. Tell him about the rig. He's like, hey, Billy, let's go to Lake Palestine and do some fishing. It's the dog days of August. We probably ain't gonna catch nothing, but let's go to Palestine and do a little fishing, man. I'm like, hey, I like Lake Palestine. Let's go. Yeah. And then I show up to the boat ramp, and what are you pulling behind you?
A 17-foot aluminum flat bottom with a Mercury 15 on the back.
That doesn't work.
Well, we didn't know it didn't work at the time.
To my knowledge, it never worked. I never saw the motor.
Okay, look, it worked. It worked the few trips before that, especially, and I'd made sure the night before.
I have no evidence of that. I never saw it crank.
Whatever, dude. I was out there waxing a dang aluminum boat. I was excited. I was like, because me and Billy, for those of you who don't know, we used to camp out on the phone for several hours and talk fishing. That's just what we do.
Basically, this podcast used to happen on our phone.
Correct.
10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah, whatever it was, a long time ago. And so I get Billy talked into coming to Palestine, and we dumped the boat, and wouldn't you know, the motor doesn't crank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I got 2 batteries.
We're at the Kickapoo ramp. We're going fishing Kickapoo. We just trolling motor, right?
Yeah, I said, well, we got 2 trolling motor batteries, so we should be fine. You know, all the areas that I feel like fishing, or said that I wanted to fish.
Pretty close.
Pretty dang close, so whatever.
Not just like around the corner, but they were, you had to go for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was
probably on the trolling motor a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, probably so. And so we roll up to the first spot I want to fish, and I explained to Billy what it was, and he said, yes, I fished here before, I know what you're talking about. Billy goes to put on a clinic on a little...
before that, on the way there, we stopped at a couple little grass patches, caught some frogfish.
We did catch some frogfish.
Then we got to the money hole that had the current pushing through it.
Yes.
But it had current like kind of ripping through it from the wind. It was funneling this current down.
Yeah, it was a pretty unique little situation.
And we dumped the clutch on them, Jack. I put that little swim bait out there and went to just jacking them.
And then I go to digging around in the boat, grabbing another rod, and I grab a freaking finesse jig. And Billy goes, dude, there's grass everywhere. You ain't going to catch no fish on a jig.
And I'm catching them on a swim bait just under the surface, and he's going to flip a jig up. I'm like, what are you doing that for?
4-pounder in the boat.
Yeah.
What am I going to do, Billy? He was like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, good enough. Keep throwing that jig, old son.
Yeah. And so we end up, I think we caught 25 pounds.
I don't know what we caught.
It was good.
However many we caught, it was all of them.
Yeah, it was good.
If we were measured by MLF, it'd have been a lot more than 25 pounds.
Yeah, because we caught a bunch.
We caught a bunch of fish that day.
And so,
but then we're holding into this little wind pushed section. all of a sudden we start getting on top of the grass mat off to the side. I'm like, Chris, why are you letting us get in the grass mat? He's like, no juice, bro. So then he switches the battery. Guess what? The other battery's almost dead as soon as we hook it up. And I'm like, dude, we are straight stroking these fish, but we might want to head back because the whole way back to the boat ramp by trolling motor is into the wind now.
Yes.
In an aluminum boat that gets blown by the wind. So now I'm like, okay, we might want to head back that way. So we catch a few more. We actually just let the boat rest against that grass mat, catch a few more, dig our way out of the grass, troll out of that, start heading back, and we're just kind of talking, shooting the breeze, going back. And this battery's just, it's dying quick on us.
I mean, it's to the point.
It's dying quick on us.
It's to the point now. If it was a fan, it'd be putting out.
Like I was sticking my fishing pole in the water trying to paddle with it because we didn't have a paddle, of course, because we're idiots. And so now we're kind of stranded. Well, we managed to milk it all the way just about to that road bed right in front of that last Kickapoo bridge that's closest to the ramp.
Yes.
Right? Closest to the ramp. And we're just like, man, if we can just get on top of that road bed. So here was what we did. We managed to limp it up to the top of the road bed. Chris jumps out of the boat, grabs the rope that's tied onto the front hitch of the boat, and puts the rope over his shoulder and starts pulling us in. While I'm still in the boat, mind you, because that's what kind of friend I am. Fat boy that weighs about 275 at the time is still in the back of the boat. And I pick up his jig rod and start flipping the riprap and catching fish while he's pulling us to the ramp.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's laughing about it, and I'm like, yeah, it's funny. I'm just out here with these Palestine gators.
And this sucker was literally in water up to his chest at times. He'd slide off the corner of that road bed a little bit and dang near drown. And I'd be like, what you doing, boy? Get back. You messing up my flow, man. Get my trolling motor back running. I got some timing going here.
That did happen. That was a fun time. Caught a lot of fish.
That was a fun day. That was the first day we ever spent in a boat together.
That's right. First time we went
We
fishing.
probably should have took notes of how that went and known what was in store for us the next few years.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, man, that's a pretty good story, I think, to wrap it up. You got anything else?
Dude.
Not that you can claim publicly?
No. Good episode.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Y'all take that information to the bank because I'm a believer.
Yeah, I like Kelly, man. That was a great talk with Kelly. Again, dude, can't thank him enough. We really appreciate that. And
it's good to know the people that you look up to over all those years. It's good to get reassurance of the kind of people they are. You know what?
He's awesome, man.
Dude, he's great.
He's awesome. So, hey, we definitely appreciate all you guys listening and watching wherever you're consuming it at. We appreciate that. Like we say, leave us comments. That old Mexican food trying to come back a little bit there. Leave us comments down below. Let us know if there's any topic you want touched on, whether it's just discussion topic or informational topic, tips, whatever. Anything you guys want us to discuss on this podcast, that's what we want to touch on more so than anything else. So hit us up, 903-519-1542. That's the number on the screen. Send us a text message right there, and we will be happy to touch anything you guys want us to touch.
Boom.
Boom. That's it. We're just booming it now?
Boom.
Well, let me give you a count. Do we need to redo this? Cringy outros. That's our special hit of it, Chris. Bazinga!
This highway does not know my name, and I don't care. No, I don't care. Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.